Hey everybody, and welcome to a brand new installment of Nintendo News Report for Wednesday, July 27th, 2016. I'm your host, Alexander Kalofi, today joined by my very esteemed co-host for a two-man and eccentric show, one Mr. Donald
I am going through enough Baileys and cereal right now that I'm being tabbed to lead the RNC.
Terry. You know what, Donald? That's enough politics talk out of you. It's causing trouble on this show right as it starts. You know what, Donald? This might be a very Republican-centric show. You never know.
Well, we'll see. I mean, anyway, we've got more important things to talk about than
No, no,
politics.
no. Let's talk about. I'm just kidding. Let's get the fuck away from politics as fast as possible, Donald. Yeah. That's one of the fun things about Nintendo News Report is that this show takes no political stances. We are not the Huffington Post. We just want everyone to enjoy what we're doing. We don't care who you are. It's hopefully what you want to happen is happening during the elections right now. Hopefully you're happy. That's the most ringing endorsement this show will ever formally make. Not that this show matters that much, but like this, I consider this politically secular as politically secular gets. Now, speaking of politics, the Nintendo NX rumors are coming out about this boy, aren't they, Donald?
Yeah, they're coming out fast and furious, and there seems to be two camps, but one seems to be ending up with more evidence to support it than the other.
Mm-hmm. So wait, what are the two camps? So as far as I know, here's what's established mainly in these rumors are that the NX will be the handheld console fusion, except as realistically made the most sense, the NX will actually be like a super powerful handheld that will dock and then be playable on television. That's the rumor that makes sense. It seems like it's going to be powered potentially by a Tegra, or there's something else which I think you might be referring to. But its games will either run digitally or on a cartridge that can store up to 32 gigabytes. And it sounds like power-wise, if it's really a Tegra, it's not going to be up to PS4 levels, and sounds like there's a universe where if it is the Tegra, it would actually be below Wii U power.
The Tegra X1 chip that is supposedly in the dev kits now is it's more powerful than the Wii U. It's around the power ballpark or a little lower than that of an Xbox One. But it probably has to do that for battery life reasons, because the main thing that I found that currently runs that chip is a Google Chromebook that has about a 30,000 milliamp hour battery in it. And it gets about 12 hours. So basically there's the camp that was heavily sourced from Eurogamer, who has sources declaring that yes, that's what they seem to be doing, and our own Neil Ronahan is hearing similar things from similar people. But there's another camp who is saying that they're being fed a line, and that it's actually going to be an AMD powered x86 style processor that's somewhere in between the Xbox One and PS4, and there's a separate, and that's going to be a pure console with a separate handheld form factor to be revealed at a later date.
Wait, so you think there will be both a handheld and a console?
I'm skeptical about the idea of the hybrid, just because Nintendo has spoken about the need to have more form factors in the wild, not less. And the games that they have announced as running on the NX so far, which are Just Dance 2017, Sonic, and Zelda.
That's the full launch lineup, right? It'll be N64.
Well, the Sonic game is fall 2017 when it does come out, so so you'd be looking at Just Dance and Zelda, which admittedly that worked for the Wii, but
that's enough.
Yeah, but those games, especially Just Dance, which is such a multiplayer focused game, that running on something that is predominantly portable, that fails multiple sniff tests for me. And if you're talking, and given what Nintendo has done with batteries in the Wii U gamepad and even in the new 3DS, that's going to be some pretty bad battery life as a portable if this is what they're going to do with it.
Yeah, what I think is that these rumors are probably more true than not true. I think that if you're going to do a console, handheld, home console hybrid, all the power has to be in the handheld, or at least it has to be a handheld with a home console side of it. Now, what I think they could do, which isn't substantiated in these rumors, but seems to like ideologically make the most sense if they want to match up power wise, because as far as I know, the Tegra chips, the ones that currently exist, not the ones that are going to come out, are about on the level of PS3 360, if not a notch below that. The ones that are coming out seem like they're like what you were saying, where they're like a little below the Xbox One.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like the basically the process, the main thing that I said, like I said, is using it is the Google Chromebook Pixel C, which is basically a convertible Android tablet.
Mm-hmm.
So now there is talk of Tegra X2 that would be more powerful, and that is set to come out May of next year, which maybe Nintendo gets the jump on that, especially since AMD seems to be winning all of the contracts for consoles as of late.
Mm-hmm.
So if Nintendo is going to get the jump on is going to be first out of the gate with the X2, then maybe they have something that has more power behind it.
But what they got to do is they are going to do it. Would have to be a primary handheld console with a home console base. Now, what worries me about that is how they're going to market it. It sounds like they're going to try to do like games on the go, like they're going to basically say it'll be the real games, but you can play them wherever you want, like for real this time, not just Wii U, but for real this time. But I'm scared of like the way Nintendo could actually market that, especially considering it's a console coming out a couple of years after Xbox One and PS4, while presumably being less powerful than both of them, which shouldn't be a problem in the long run, but it seems like it could very well be a problem here, as it seemed like it was one of Wii U's problems last time around.
Yeah, and Ubisoft, in their financial results last week, they were quoted as saying that the NX is supposed to recapture the casual market. The casual market is not going to give one flying fidoo about playing their games on the go, because they already have something that can play games on the go. It's called the cell phone.
Right, which is why Giant Bomb. I've been watching the Giant Bomb cast today, which is like it's their first like you can watch the show now, and what they were suggesting was that it would be the NX would basically be both a handheld and a home console. Like basically all the development would get channeled that way, and their secondary platform would be the phones.
Yeah, but even then, like we had another set of rumors come out today that apparently this thing is going to cost less than we think, which kind of shoots down the ability to use a brand new chip. And it's also going to support Nintendo's mobile efforts. So things like Miitomo and the Animal Crossing and Fire Emblem games would run on it.
Mm, absolutely. I have some stuff in the chat. Anthony Dranfield asks, question to the crew, which game will be first shown for NX? I presume he's saying other than Zelda, Dragon Quest. Basically, well, unless you mean like what'll be the first playable game, I think we're gonna see either Mario or Zelda.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be playable Zelda, though. I should point out that although Yuji Horii said it, those Dragon Quest games are still not technically official yet, because Square is actually obeying the NDAs, unlike everybody else.
Oh, okay. Let me see what else we got. Kalafi has a different hairstyle every show, the RZA says. Actually, this is just me like properly doing my hair this episode. Well, it's I also cut it shorter in the last couple weeks, but that's irrelevant. Is this thing going to have an SSD for downloads? Andy Gergen asks. I'm guessing no. I bet it'll still have a more significant storage drive.
I'm not sure what the going rate is for 128 gigs of internal memory right now. That's probably going to be a big cost problem for it, unless this thing comes with like a super mini Drobo that you can stick a standard hard drive into. But that would just add way more bulk to the system. I think the point is though we're going to find out what this thing is probably in September, because that's the other thing that Eurogamer said, that this thing was going to be officially unveiled in September, and Neil also has recently seems to be hinting in that way as well. So by September, or by the end of this quarter, we're going to know exactly what the NX is, and then we can retire that NX Siren.
Storage. Here's my guess. SD card support on the handheld, and on the console there will be a portable hard drive access.
So you think like they build a terabyte into whatever docking system they use?
Well, I'm not necessarily they build terabyte. I'm saying that maybe there's a little bit of storage in there, little storage as in 250 gigs or whatever, and then they would have the USB connector so you can do your own portable storage drives. And in addition, it has the 3DS style of you can put in as big of an SD card as you want. I'm pretty sure there are affordable ones going up to 128 gigs now, which doesn't sound like a ton for this system, but also maybe that'll be the compromise you have to make for making this portable.
Yeah, like because generally SD card prices, they cut themselves in half every year. So like every 12 months the price goes down. I paid about 100 for the 128 that's in my 3DS, in my new 3DS right now, a year ago, and I think I've seen them get down to 50.
Okay, I'm typing an SD card now. Let's see what else we got in the chat. Neil has inside sources, Theresa asks. Neil has a handful of inside sources. I don't know who they are because he's never told me, but they exist. Yeah.
As long as they're not Sophie from Fire Emblem Fates, I think we'll be good.
There you go. How's Fire Emblem treating you as I look at this chat?
It's very good. Unfortunately, I kind of screwed up a mission, so it kind of ruined the playthrough I was going through, and I have to restart because I forgot to create the backup save before I did this.
Yeah. If you got to restart, then I recommend actually playing Conquest the way it was intended to be played.
Well,
just a little bit of difficulty.
Because I'm doing Revelations because I'm trying to do a pair everybody up across country lines run.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll talk about that on a future episode when there's no news. I was just curious. Things are relatively positive though.
Yeah, I'm liking Revelations. It's nice to be on track for an ending that's not leaving half the people dead.
Sure. Okay. Seems like the hybrid would be fine for multiplayer when docked. That's a great point, 1K Billy. I think the hybrid would be cool if it would be like 3DS DS style multiplayer when you're on the go, but when you're there, you can do basically local couch multiplayer. That would be something I bet would be in the initial reveal trailer.
Yeah, and the point of the unit is that it's smaller, but there's detachable controls on the side explicitly for local multiplayer when you're back home.
Well, I think there are going to be like separate controllers for when you're at home. And I bet they're going to include one in the box. I think you have to include a controller in the box for whatever the home application of this system is.
Yeah.
Goldlager says, let's not depend on rumors until Nintendo themselves releases info about the system. I agree. I agree, Goldlager. I would also say that this speculation is super fun to me. And that's the reason why I'm actually leading the show with it. Not only because it's the main discussion point, but also because it's just fun to talk about Nintendo's next system, especially when the reveal is so close at hand. Andy Gergen says, what were you saying, Donald?
I was just gonna say I still can't shake the idea of one system trying to do both, because I really hope there's just something that's a straight handheld and a straight console, but maybe I'm the only person who feels that way.
If I can pay $300 or even $400, there's no way this thing's $400. Well, there's no way it's more than $400. And then be able to get the system where all of Nintendo's development is channeled towards. The next WarioWare game is both the console and the handheld WarioWare game. The next Rhythm Heaven is both the handheld and the console. More importantly, the next Pokemon game after Sun and Moon would presumably be both the next handheld and console Pokemon game.
Well, unless they would have to cut off Gen 7 real quick then, because there's going to be some sort of Sun and Moon. There would have to be either a remake or some sort of successor, because unless they actually manage to build the perfect game for the generation on the first shot this time, which, no offense to Game Freak, but that hasn't happened yet.
Well, what they could do is next year's game, Sun and Moon 2, Sun, Moon, and Star, could presumably be like the last 3DS game, like a super late game, which I think Crystal was back in its time.
Crystal,
and Emerald was, and
Emerald.
Yellow was.
Yeah, and Black and White 2 were.
Black and White 2 were pretty late also. So that's also a possibility, and then Gen 8 ends up being the NX game we want.
I don't know, though. We'll talk about this later, but it seems like there's going to be 3DS coming out of Japan for most of next year, too.
Okay. And then what we got is... Oh, there's also the rumor that Nintendo's mobile stuff is going to be playable on the NX, which sounds like a smart move. Finding a way to actually utilize Nintendo's mobile efforts. Like, just so you don't have to worry about exclusivity. Like basically, if you're a Nintendo fan and own the Nintendo system and can't play games that are technically Nintendo games.
Yeah.
I think that's important, yeah.
Or a way for Nintendo to get the 30% off those games themselves instead of giving it to Apple or Google.
Mm-hmm. Andy Gergen says the graphics on level 3 will need tightened up at the system level. Maybe Nintendo leaked this to them to make people think that... Maybe Nintendo leaked this to them to make people think that is the NX, but in reality, the NX is something totally different. Pumpkin Pie 3080. No way. Nintendo wants as many secrets as possible. Do they read the chat? Matthew Kelly asks. I certainly am this episode. What newcomers do you want to see happen for the NX title of Super Smash Bros? I wanted to see Mike Jones from Star Tropic, Arcade Bunny, Impa, Shovel Knight, Shantae, Amalu from Pushmo, and Quote. I think Quote has zero chance of being in this game. I think Shovel Knight and Shantae are still super iffy. I think we're gonna see. Another Animal Crossing rep. I think Splatoon is such a given because Splatoon is the last core Nintendo franchise they have that has zero representation. I think now would be a good time for a Rhythm Heaven and a WarioWare rep, and I think another good Zelda rep we could probably use too. Oh, and more Metroid because we only have Samus representation. What do you think, Donald?
Well, given that Nintendo is publishing Shovel Knight in Japan, that does open the door for him to be in Smash as a first-party character.
First-party-ish.
Yeah. Well, we'll know the difference, but it would be cool to play as him in Smash Brothers. I think in order to get Justin Berube off the ledge, I think we need to bring back Ice Climbers if the system can support it, which, well, it probably will be able to support it.
50-50, Donald.
Yeah. Depends on what mode you're in.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. Let's go with Ray from Disaster Day of Crisis, if only to shame Nintendo into actually releasing that thing on the eShop.
Yeah. I think what's very possible is that because Namco seems like they're probably going to be the primary developers of Smash Bros. From now on, it makes sense to me that a Wii U port would happen before an actual new game would. Does that make sense to you, Donald?
Yeah. Well, because they need something to time the release of the last 3 Amiibo too.
Fair. Jordan Rudek asks, if NX is a portable, how long will companies keep making 3DS games after the NX launch? thinking of announced level 5 games from last night. I think the last 3DS game you see comes out in early 2019. I think you will see half the 3DS games you see this year, next year in North America. I think you'll see 25% of the 3DS games this year in 2018, and then I think by 2019 we'll see the last ones.
Don't underestimate the likes of Little Orbit though, because they were putting out DS games 2 years ago.
Yeah, sure. Matthew Kelly, King K. Rool, Takamaru, Avatar from Xenoblade Chronicles X, Alma, and Flynn from Shin Megami Tensei 4. Also, those are decent ideas. I don't think we're gonna get Atlas reps though. Yeah.
Yeah, I think our Sega Sammy representation will be limited to Sonic in that universe.
Yeah. One reason why I don't believe the rumor is because there is no gimmick. Miyamoto said there would be a new way to play, and there is none in the rumor. That is the gimmick.
The gimmick is that you can take a console game on the road.
Yes, it might not be enough for you, but I think it in Miyamoto's Nintendo ass eyes, like that's enough. And maybe it will be. Maybe they'll market it. Maybe it'll be everything we want and more.
Didn't Sony try marketing that with the Vita, which I don't think is yet to sell 10 million?
I don't know. Vita is, you know what? Sony failed the Vita. The Vita didn't fail Sony. I'm convinced the Vita could have done better if Sony did better. Instead, Sony gave up 2 years in, left it to Japanese developers, and then salvaged all of the games they can and put it out on the PS4. Like, as someone who loves his Sony games, like, I am tremendously disappointed by their treatment of the Vita, especially in the last few years.
I think they gave up on it at E3 2012, personally, but that's just me.
Yeah, which is a shame because I actually think if you were to argue to me that the Vita was the best handheld of all time, I don't know if I would agree with you, but I would listen to what you have to say.
Fair enough.
I think there's an argument to be made. Top 3. I think Vita makes top 3.
Certainly. It helps that most of the relevant games in the that it gets most of the relevant games in the PSP library, but
right, absolutely. Pokemon Eclipse is a great name for a Pokemon game. Cosmai. The detachable controller idea has already been done by others. Phantom Wolf GX. Well, if you look at the new Zelda game, Nintendo doesn't necessarily. They're not always the first people to come up with ideas.
Hell, Nintendo did it themselves with the Wii.
Yeah. Let's see. Plus, many people forget that the dock will improve power RAM GPUs. We're back to the NES. Yeah, there are theories that the dock will allow it to become better than PS4 at PS4 level. I think whatever that system is docked on, no matter what, even if they end up doing a PS Morpheus thing of having an extra box to power up, which I hope is the case, you're not looking at a PS4 level console. Because if you have that portable, if you have a dock getting it up to $400, if you have the dock and if you have the dock bringing it up to PS4 Neo levels, that thing's not even $400. I think you're looking at $500 or more, which is probably almost close what Nintendo is actually looking to charge this time around.
That Nintendo is trying to keep it under half because, as was established with the 3DS and the Wii U, if Nintendo goes over $250 for a portable or $300 for a console, bad things happen.
Yeah. The Wii U launched at $349, right? US.
$349 US for the deluxe, $299 for the basic, and nobody cared about the basic.
This thing launches at $299. I think Nintendo does what they need to do to launch this at $299. Yeah. And it comes with a game. I say it comes with a game.
Now the question is, which game?
It won't be Zelda, that's for sure. It'll probably be a me-focused game that gets announced at the show. And comes with Miitomo pre-installed. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Honestly, though, at this point, I just want Nintendo to give us a date. Like, I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning today expecting them to give us a date for the NX reveal, but no.
Yeah. I hope Nintendo pulls this off. I've been very uncertain about the future of Nintendo lately because it seems like for every bad Nintendo story, there's a great Nintendo story. For every great Nintendo story, there's a bad Nintendo story, or like a story that makes me feel super iffy about Nintendo. Like there was a time a year ago when they started like actually like getting into the super mobile stuff where I was like, you know what? Nintendo's actually like they're reinventing themselves and they're gonna pull this off. And then I see something like this NX where it still seems super shaky. Like it seems smart, but it also seems super shaky. I see that this is definitely a conversation for another time. It's just I worry about Nintendo. I worry about Nintendo, and I hope we're seeing the good Nintendo and not like the what are Nintendo doing Nintendo. I hope we're seeing Wii Nintendo or 3DS Nintendo, 3DS fixed Nintendo, and not Wii U Nintendo.
Or 3DS pre-ambassador Nintendo.
I hope we're seeing Super Mario Maker Nintendo. That's the Nintendo I love. Is Super Mario Maker Nintendo and Splatoon Nintendo. I hope that's the kind of Nintendo we see on the NX. Yeah, I think that's kind of everything we have to say. Anthony Dranfield also asks, will NX be announced in front of a live audience? Probably. That makes sense to me.
It'll probably be like simultaneous press briefings in New York, London, and Tokyo. Kind of like what they did with the Wii U.
Right. It might be marketed as a Nintendo Direct Live. Like that could be something they could do.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think that's about it for the NX. We have more stories though for the 51 people watching us now. If you want to hear us talk about some more Nintendo stories, we have. Let's see. We have Level 5 Vision. There was a Level 5's conference. It sees multiple announcements for 3DS and mobile. Let's see. There is Lady Layton, The Conspiracy of King Millionaire. Ariadne is 3DS and smartphones. Layton's daughter, Katoli.
We need a localization on that, but later did come out that game is going to come out in North America and Europe next year. It's April in Japan, probably late summer in the rest of the world.
I haven't seen the trailer for this. Do we know if this is actually going to be a real-ass Layton game?
This is a Layton-ass Layton game.
Sick. The Snack World project, which was announced at last year's Level 5 Vision, which they were pushing as like, this is the next big Level 5 thing. This is the next Yokai Watch. That thing was shown for the first time. You can scan real-world objects via NFC onto the 3DS Amiibo reader, and it's like keychains basically, and it's going to be releasing next July in Japan. That game doesn't look great, Donald. That game looks like an action RPG, but not a good one. Like basically it reminds me of Heroes of Ruin, almost like Diablo-y, but much less control.
Yeah, that's the impression I'm getting, but the main impression I'm getting is that this thing is not leaving Japan. Ever.
Yeah, it's the thing is the game's gonna fail, and then they're gonna be like, this cannot pull a Yokai Watch. When the game's successful, when it is Yokai Watch, it still didn't do great in America.
Yeah, because these things are so built to dominate Japan. Like they showed off anime, manga. Hell, I think they busted out cereal boxes. So yeah, the Level 5, great in Japan, acquired taste for the rest of the world.
I think Yokai Watch would have succeeded in the West because it didn't really succeed in the West. Like they're still trying, and I think they're going to try through the second game, and maybe they'll even go for the third. This game would have succeeded if the first Yokai Watch was actually a great game. Yeah. And I don't mean to be like super negative about that, but I got like 2 or 3 hours into Yokai Watch, and like the battle system freaking kills it. Like it's not good at all. I hate to be like that, like because everything around Yokai Watch, the anime-ass story, the Inazuma 11 cheery characters, all that stuff is well in place, but the battle system is just not there. And I think that's probably at least 50% of the reason why it didn't get picked up harder in the West.
Well, and the second one is supposed to improve on a lot of that, but they're also doing the 2 version thing, which just leads to, okay, which of these do I get? And I still have to go track down somebody in Japan who cares about this sort of thing to tell me, okay, this is the version to get.
Yokai Watch. Is there a good version, a bad version of Yokai Watch 2?
I think so, but I don't.
Really?
I
That's
have.
hard.
That's it's just that it's how it ends up with these 2 version games that aren't Pokemon, because Pokemon does a good job of balancing out between one or the other.
Right.
But this one, Yokai Watch 2, I don't know.
Yokai Watch 3 just got released in Japan like a week ago.
Yeah, and it did good. It did amazing numbers for most games. Unfortunately, it did not. It did about half of what Yokai Watch 2 did, because level 5 games tend to do that.
Yeah.
They peak and then they plummet.
Mm. Which is a shame because the box art for Yokai Watch 3 Sushi and Tempura actually look fantastic. They also take place in America. Do we know how the game reviewed on Famitsu, just out of curiosity?
It probably got
A
it probably
32.
I'm thinking level 5 could probably afford a 38 for this one, so let's go with that.
The 2 scores that games get in Famitsu now are 40 and 32. Those are the 2 scores the games get now.
Yeah.
Boy, oh boy.
Well, it all depends. It all depends on how many yen are on the check.
Yeah. Okay. So there was that. Let's see what else we got. Little's following Little Battler experience. They'll return to the world of Mecha with Megaton Q Musashi multiplayer action RPG next summer in Japan. Is that a mobile game or a 3DS game?
That is 3DS. It's their attempt. This I get the impression that this is their attempt at doing Monster Hunter with mechs.
Okay. Okay. Finally, a new Inazuma 11 series was teased. Which is basically there's probably going to be a new Inazuma 11 series. Also, other things we got to mention. Fantasy Life 2 is exclusive to mobile, and there is a mobile version of Fantasy Life 1.
Yeah, and it's also a mobile version of the first Yokai Watch.
Oh yeah. That I remember that too. Which
Yeah.
and yeah, that actually looks pretty good.
Yeah, it didn't end up on our story because well, we're a Nintendo website. We only care about the stuff on the 3DS for now.
Right, and yeah, it's close to 3DS related, but it's not quite 3DS related. I don't think I like level 5 games, Donald.
They're so focused on taking over the country with these properties for a year or two and then running them into the ground, that they forget they should probably make these good games so that they have something that they can go back to every 3 or 4 years, like they seem to be doing with Inazuma 11. But we don't even know what system that new game is going to be on, because the only thing they really showed was basically an episode of the anime.
Right. We had an interesting question from Gold Liger. I wonder who the mother is. Any ideas? Presumably referring to Lady Layton. I bet, and this is a weird spoiler alert for Layton, but so hold your ears for 30 seconds starting now. The woman who was super tight with Professor Layton and then died at a certain point. I never played that game, but is it possible that it could have been her baby?
Maybe. I mean, that would explain why Layton's single.
Did she die in his presence and there was definitely no baby? Could there possibly that's what comes to mind first. There's also that lady who's his buddy.
Asran Future kind of shoots that in the foot. The weird thing is, Layton apparently has 2 sons as well, in addition to his daughter. The Layton Brothers, which is a mobile game.
Yeah, that's Layton's getting busy.
Well, he's a gentleman, I wouldn't think that a gentleman would get around like that, but maybe views are different in England and the Layton universe. Who knows?
Yeah. All right. Do you guys see Final Fantasy VII Remake for NX? Nope. Unless it's successful.
I think a lot of it actually is going to depend on how 7 times 2 goes, because they did talk about bringing 14 to NX at one point, but a lot of it was going to be contingent on if the multiplayer would be cross-platform. We know Sony's into that now with Rocket League and things like that, and you can do crossplay with the PC and PlayStation versions of 14. So it is possible, but and there's also a long-standing rumor that we're getting a Final Fantasy VI remake as opposed to a 7 remake. But
That would be fantastic.
I will believe that when it is in my hands or downloading to my system, whichever happens first.
Naked Link says the first Yokai Watch is at around 400,000 in North America as in June. Not where they want it to be, but not bad. I agree with that, but I would also say by Yokai Watch standards, that is not good at all. Enough to justify the localization, but not good enough at all.
Not for the amount of effort that they're putting into marketing it.
Okay. All right. I think that's it for our level 5. Nintendo releases Q1 2017 financial results. Nintendo posted a loss. Donald, do you actually just want to run through this since you wrote this story?
Okay, yeah. They had an operating loss here. It's not that bad considering some other losses they had, but they did lose about 50 million this quarter. They sold about 585 million. Remember when they set their expectation for the fiscal year and they said the Wii U would sell about 800,000? They're already a quarter of the way to that. So Christmas will probably get them over that. Amazingly, software sales were up slightly, especially on Wii U. This is kind of shocking because last year had Splatoon in it for this quarter, whereas this year had Kirby, some localizations, and Star Fox Zero, which, well, Star Fox Zero did not do very well in most territories.
Sure. Oh, I had a sad Nintendo moment the other day when I went to the Best Buy website because they had Star Fox for $24. I had it in my cart. I looked at it and I couldn't do it, Donald.
Yeah.
I don't want this game at all, and it's so sad for me to come to that realization. I never need to play Star Fox Zero.
Do me a favor, try the demo. It's on the eShop now, and maybe something will click with you once you've had a chance to play it and not really taken any effort. At the very least, you get to watch the animated short again.
Is this like other Platinum games where it's reasonable to both think it's not that great, but also one of the best games of all time, like a lot of Wonderful 101 and some Bayonetta and a lot of other fans of their games tend to think? Or is this one that by most reasonable standards, this game is just not that great?
If a lot of it's going to come down to how the controls click with you. I enjoyed what I played of it. I beat it once, haven't really gone back to it. My roommate hated it. So that's part of the reason why we don't have it right now, because I traded it in I managed to get most of my money back. But I liked it. Neil loved it. The controls are very divisive, but again, the demo is on the eShop. Give it a shot. Play around with it, see how it handles, and if that Black Friday and July sale comes around again, or gets a random sale in the shop, give it a shot if you like the demo.
Sure.
Yeah, and other number things. Last year was about the height of Amiibo stupidity, so they went from selling 6 million in the quarter to about 1.6 million. The mobile and licensing end, even with Miitomo being in the wild for the whole quarter, they only made about 15 million. I think it's $15.6 million from that. This is all based on market rates at the time that story was written, by the way.
But the value of Miitomo is not the how much they make, because the in-app stuff was fucking impossible to find. The value of Miitomo is the data they get, I think.
Yeah, and I think we're gonna probably see more on that, because they don't do a Q&A with this release. The next one of those we're going to have is in October, so that's when we're probably going to see an update as to just how many people have signed up for My Nintendo.
Sure.
And,
Yeah.
and we'll probably also get NX sales expectations at that same meeting.
I sure hope Nintendo gets some better games in my Nintendo, or at least some games I don't have, because my coins are building up and I haven't done anything with them yet.
Yeah, I think I'm actually eligible for like the birthday rewards in a few days, so hopefully those are as good as what I've heard.
Donald, yeah, it's
like Xenoblade and Mario Maker and things like that, all available for like a decent discount. Not as good as that Black Friday sale, but still pretty good.
So wait, so what do you get on your birthday?
You basically get, there's certain games that they will give you discounts on, like how they have Fire Emblem up right now, Fire Emblem Awakening, except they only are valid in the month that your birthday is.
Oh, so there are some that will become available just for you?
Just for me, because my birthday is August 15th.
Oh, okay. Oh, your birthday's only 10 days after mine. So when will those apply for us? When will those pop up?
I believe they come up the first of the month, so Monday.
Okay, and those are like all new. Well, it's not necessarily known until they come out.
Right.
Are they good discounts?
I believe it's like 30 or 40% off, but most of the games that we saw for that at least I saw for the last set, were retail games. So that's a pretty significant money off.
Okay, that's fair. All right. That sounds like it. The only other interesting thing about this story was that investors, like Nintendo's stock, basically became more valuable than Sony's because people didn't realize that Pokemon Go was wasn't really a Nintendo thing, and then Nintendo basically told investors, and then their stock went way back down, but still higher than it was.
Yeah, they issued a notice to that effect on Friday. It's like, do you people not read our site? We talked about this last year, right when Go was announced, that Nintendo owns like 30% of the Pokemon company, and therefore they own like 10% of this game.
Yeah. Pokemon is the least Nintendo franchise.
Exactly.
It doesn't get less Nintendo while still being Nintendo than Pokemon Go, except for maybe Shovel Knight.
Yeah, and the Pokemon Company does have a lot of room to maneuver with doing their own thing, which is why they've been doing mobile games for 5 years now.
Mm-hmm. Or they have like the most app experience outside of Niantic, like within Nintendo's arsenal, basically.
Yeah, they. I think they usually they usually outsource some of this stuff to other companies, but I think some of those things are actually in house.
If you're familiar with the business dealings of mobile games, that's still extremely useful.
Yeah, and hell, they even developed like Solatiba Pocket Card Jockey. That started out as a mobile game.
Absolutely. Speaking of Pokemon Go, the Pokemon Go Plus is officially delayed after not shipping anywhere, yet being promised for the end of July at E3. This thing is coming out in September worldwide, presumably.
Yeah, like every single one of the Nintendo national Twitter accounts tweeted some variation of this right at about the time the financials were coming out.
I bet they're making more.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I stand with it. Nintendo is betting that Pokemon Go is still going to be a thing come September, and this way they actually can probably sell more, and I don't know, maybe get some exclusive band designs with GameStop or Walmart or whoever's going to sell these things.
Anthony Dranfield says the Demon Game with Jesus in it is the least Nintendo franchise.
Devil World.
I've been reading Berserk lately, and for a second I was like, "Wait, is Berserk a Nintendo franchise?" But then I realized
No, that's a Koei Tecmo franchise, if I recall.
I'm so excited for the Muso Berserk game. That's gonna be so good. Have you read Berserk, Donald?
I have not.
There has never been. Berserk is basically Dark Souls and Musou, but like with the Fist of the North Star plot. It's fucking crazy. It's if you want to read Berserk, and there are super accessible ways to actually get it. Like if you have an iPad Mini, get a hold of the Berserk manga and just read it, which is such a crazy non-Nintendo recommendation. But I'm like on chapter 280, and it's so good. It's so good. But That's beside the point. It's that game's coming out in October, in Japan, and then a little later in the States, and I'm very excited for that. But I guess I used Anthony's comment as an opportunity to talk about Berserk. But Berserk is fantastic.
Yeah. Getting back to Pokemon Go here, because
whatever.
It's still, I mean, I think I don't think we lost deal to it tonight, but we keep losing people to it, and now like it's like it's no longer like the most downloaded thing, but that's because everybody already has it. 75 million people officially have downloaded this thing. And that's not even getting into the number of people who sideloaded it in countries where it doesn't exist yet.
The interesting thing is that as someone who likes to consider himself a Pokemon fan, and before Donald, you came in to take some of that away from me, and I think it was like after Josh Max's reign and before you came on staff, I was more or less the Pokemon editor, and in fact, to a lesser extent, I think we kind of shared that mantle. But as like probably one of the stronger Pokemon fans on the site, because I don't have 3G, it's been weird for me as a Pokemon fan that like I still haven't played Pokemon Go yet. So I still have no idea if it's like actually any good.
I don't really have the opportunities to play it because I'm tethered to my desk all day because I work from home now. So there's not much point in me booting it up while I'm at home. And I don't go very far, so it's going to take me like a month to hatch an egg. I'm debating not even joining one of the teams.
Right.
Because I'm level 5 now. I did all that in one day because I had to go into the office.
So you haven't necessarily gotten the time with it that you would like to have either.
Well, that, and honestly, I'm sick of Generation 1 Pokemon. Aside from like 4 of them, the rest, like I'm want, like people are freaking out about the possibility that they're going to bring in more Pokemon. I'm like, fine, give me something that I can actually tolerate using. Because if I see one more Zubat, I swear to God, I'm going to break somebody's legs.
Yeah. My friends and I were having this because we have some of my friends from back home. We keep a Facebook chat where we talk about like video games and whatever bullshit boys talk about. And we were talking about Pokemon, and I have a few Gen 1er friends where they're like, oh, Pokemon 151 and then 250, those are the only good ones, and then everything after that is shit. And then like I was telling them like, you guys realize that Pokemon designs have actually gotten way better, like since Generation 1. And I just started like pasting all of the shitty designs from Gen 1 one after another. I started with Tangela because you got to start with a good one. I went on to Voltorb. I went on to Jinx. I went on to Magmar because you can't forget how like much of a piece of shit Magmar actually is. And like you actually realize that Gen 1 might have the worst. I still think Gen 6 might be worse, but that might be more of a personal Alex thing. You could make an argument for the first generation of Pokemon being the worst Pokemon design-wise. Not because they were bad, because Pokemon Red, Blue, Yellow are some of the most important games of all time, and still could stack up, and like it still carries some weight and as an RPG. It's just that Pokemon got better, and like a lot of people aren't realizing that. But yeah. I think this game is for the people who don't realize that Pokemon got better.
And when they start dropping in the new Pokemon, it's gonna blow their damn minds.
Yeah, it's Mimikyu. Did you guys talk about the new Pokemon last week?
A couple weeks ago, but yeah, we did chat about that. I'm all in on the horse, especially. I
love the horse.
Yeah, especially if it turns out that Mudsdale has a way of being trained by playing a children's card game.
Yeah, my favorite one is how the buffed up like super strong fighting Pokemon this time around is a giant teddy bear.
Yes.
I want him so bad.
Yeah,
he's gonna be so good.
I think my team is starting to take shape here with Poplio, Beware, and Mudsdale. That seems like a pretty good core.
I kind of want Drampa too.
Yeah.
I'm Team Drampa. I think Mimikyu is a fool's errand. I bet that Pokemon is going to be horseshit to use in battle, regardless of the fact that it might have the best design of any Pokemon revealed so far.
Yeah. I think I'll take my core. I'll take Salandit because a poison type that can poison types is awesome, especially since he's also fire, so steels can go F off.
Mm. Yeah. Nintendo. Also, another huge Pokemon representative of the site, of course. And he also says my favorite franchise, and Gold and Silver is the first game I ever pre-ordered. Mr. Don Koopman says, "Here's the thing: as much as I was sort of railing on people liking early Pokemon games, I still think the peak of the series is the original Gold, Silver, Crystal. Like that's probably the battlefield I'll die on." My favorite is Ruby Sapphire, but I think the best games, like the best JRPGs for Pokemon, were Gold, Silver, Crystal.
I I I have trouble believing that just because of all the time that I had to spend grinding in front of those to make the final fight reasonably doable.
Hmm.
With
It was worse in Soul Silver though.
Yeah, because he was higher leveled. Because
Yeah.
they had to give him back the most powerful trainer in the series trophy, so he has a level 88 Pikachu. Because, God damn it! And the gym leader rematch system in the remakes is complete BS.
Yeah.
With all the time bouncing you have to do in that game. But yeah, I still think Black and White is actually where the series peaked. Both design wise and in terms of what they did with the story in that game.
I would I hate saying this because Don just said agreed with Alex, though the remakes are nice as well. The other opinion I might say is that while the originals were some of the best games in the series, I think Soul Silver and Heart Gold might be the most overrated in the series.
Yeah.
It's just because I think their hearts are in the right place, and I actually like that Red is higher level, and I like having Mewtwo back in. Like, I think they made a lot of good decisions, like that in Safari Zone. I think the fact that they tried to finish Gold and Silver, like they tried to make a complete game and they didn't leave like so many half-assed parts of Silver and Gold, which is actually some of the most charming parts of that game. The fact that they did that like cleaned up, boring DS soundtrack. The fact that the art style is just not that good in those games. I actually probably would say X and Y is probably my least favorite. Omega Ruby. There's a lot of least favorite Pokemon games later on, but the ones I was most disappointed with was definitely Soul Silver Heart Gold. You can change the music, Anthony Dranfield says. It is not the same soundtrack. It is not the same soundtrack.
And I think you have to get all the badges to do it, right?
Yeah, you can only do it super late game. Also, I remember. Yeah, I think we've taken this to its conclusion, Donald.
Yeah, Pokemon Go is being delayed. There's a whole bunch of Kirby games coming out tomorrow here in North America, including the 10 out of 10 Kirby's Epic Yarn for the Wii. So enjoy that.
Kirby's Epic Yarn is a 7.5 game with a 12 out of 10 soundtrack.
Hey, I have no horse in that. I have no dog in that fight. You talk to Neil about the 10.
It was my when I was applying to Nintendo World Report I think it was at the very end of 2011. I would have been like 16 or 17. My like mock review when I applied to the site was one for Kirby's Epic Yarn. I remember giving it a 7.5, and I actually think like that review might be the most right I've ever been on a review before.
And I think Neil probably hired you just because that took some balls, man.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see how all this Pokemon stuff turns out. Anyways, that's our show for this week. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for joining me. We have some stuff to tell you about. Patreon.com/NWR. There is all kinds of stuff. Donald, do you have something going up soon or just went up? Something cool?
Well, what it was going to be a preview of the financial
Great.
results. Unfortunately, the editing for that, it took a while, and by the time we got it done, the results had already come out. So that was the plan. It kind of fell apart on me.
Well, at some point in the next 2 weeks, Donald doesn't know what he's gonna write. I don't know what Donald's gonna write. Donald will have something exclusive for.
I'll try to make it up to you guys.
Yeah, sure. We know you will, Donald. We actually do know you will. And then we also got some exclusive podcast stuff on there too. It's a good time. Patreon.com/NWR. You can also follow Donald, which is at Donald Mick, DonaldDmick, and at NFR Podcast, Nintendo Free Radio, his other podcast. You can find me at CULAFIA on Twitter. That's Kulafia. That's our show. Have a good night. See you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.